Okay, so here is Digital Read Serial. It's the example you can find under Examples, Basics, Digital Read Serial. And what it does is it reads the voltage on a digital pin, which is either going to be on or off, and it prints that out to the serial port so that we can see what the value is. So there are the two functions in our Arduino program. We always have the setup function and the loop function. And before that, we're declaring global variables. So here we're declaring a variable named push button. It's an integer, which is a whole number, and it's being initialized to the value 2. And that's which pin we're going to use. So in the setup function, which runs when we turn the Arduino on, the first thing it does is configure the serial port. The main thing you have to put in here is the baud rate. This is 9600 baud, and that's how fast the data comes over the serial port. This has to match with your serial terminal. The other thing it's doing is setting up the pin 2, push button remembers the variable name 2, to be an input so that we can read the voltage, because the pins can either be inputs where they read a voltage or outputs where they drive a voltage. Once this is done, we jump to the loop function, and that runs over and over as long as the Arduino is turned on. So it does this button state equals digital read push button. It reads pin 2 and saves it into a new variable we're declaring here. So this int button state declares the variable button state. It's a local variable because we declare it inside of the loop function, so it's only accessible inside this function. And then this part of this statement is assigning a value. So this is a compound statement that's declaring and assigning at the same time. It's very common. Sometimes it makes it hard if you want to make this a global variable later or something. You'd have to separate these into two. So you could do that. The next line is to print it out. So serial is the library we're using, .println, that's the function, and it's going to print out the button state. It's an on-off, so it's not going to print it out in volts. It's either going to be a 1 if it's above around 2.5 to 3 volts. It's going to be a 0 if it's below that. The threshold is somewhat variable, but 0 volts is 0 and 5 volts is 1 typically. There's a short delay here that I'm not sure does very much, 1 millisecond delay. Okay, well, let's put that in, see what happens. So I've chosen my Arduino Uno board and I'm on COM10, so I can just click upload, watch the lights blink. And then in order to see the serial output, we have to run the serial terminal, and that's over here. The icon, I don't know why, is a magnifying glass. It looks like a search, but it's really the serial monitor. So I'm going to click on that. I'll bring it over to the right window, and you can see we're streaming the value. So right now it's 5 volts. If you look down on the board, it's pin 2, which is right here. Pin 0 and 1 are used for the serial port, so don't use them for anything else. Pin 2 is right here. You can see with nothing connected, look at the serial terminal, we're getting 1s and 0s. It's not defined until we actually plug it into something, which is why you need a pull down or a pull up resistor if you're using buttons here. Your Arduino might behave differently. In fact, if I touch this and touch this, I can usually ground it through myself. So when it's not connected, it's just not defined. It might work, probably won't. So if I connect it, though, to one of these other pins, there's the ground pin, VN ground right here. Now it's solid and it should be 0s consistently. If I plug it into the 5 volt pin, which is here, it should be solid 1. Those are the pins. That's the test of the digital read serial.